with Minnesota sports flowing in their veins. Mackie and Judd on Score North and ScoreNorth.com.
You want to intro the show? Should I intro the show?
Mackie
you want me to intro the show?
Judd. No, I was allowing the show to breathe as I was drinking my Folly coffee. You see, the problem is...
We're off to a roaring start without Phil.
You think of this as a old school radio show still, like where we come on the mic and we... You know, it's a Friday. I'm letting it breathe a little bit. Because we're among friends here. This is the Score North family. This is not the we gotta go show. This is Feedback Friday, where we take feedback from our friends who are loyal, who are smart, who provide feedback that sometimes can keep us all, including Phil, who obviously is off today, back Monday, who can keep us all in check. And at times can provide feedback that enlightens us. And so, Declan, I wanted to start today's show with the proper amount of breathing room to allow this to just take place organically, because what you have in front of you is several comments and feedback, and I believe you're going to start with the Twins.
I'm going to start with the Twins, yes. Plenty of Twins feedback. You'd be shocked to hear this, Judd. A lot of people claiming we're very negative about the Twins, about a first-place ball club. Team that's in first place in the rugged AL Central Division. So I figured I would comb through some of the feedback here, and I'd start with this one from Bill. Do you guys have anything positive to say about a team that's in first place? All you do is complain. You poke holes at Chris Paddock. You poke holes in Falvey and Levine. Please give me 5 things that are positive about the Minnesota Twins. So Judd, what do you got? Give me 5 reasons right now to be positive about the 2022 first place, May 20th, Minnesota Twins.
You got it. In fact, you warned me this was coming. And so
I did warn you.
So I sat down and I'm going to tell you right now, short order, I came up with 5 things.
Okay.
And so I might be missing something here. But I mean, these are 5 things that jumped right into my brain. And I said, yeah, you know what? All positives. And by the way, just because you're negative about a first-place team, that means you're challenging that team to be better, to be a championship team. So I'd like to say right now, in some ways, negativity is actually a very good thing, because it allows the franchise to look long and hard at itself and say, what else do we need to do? But here are my 5 things. Number 1, let's just go back to spring training. When Scott Boras, the agent for Carlos Correa, and by the way, just as an aside, Royce Lewis as well, basically offered up his client to the Twins. One of the best shortstops in the game, if not the best, but one of the best. I mean, there's a lot of good ones, so it's probably debatable. But nonetheless, he basically came to the Twins and serving as what I would almost call a de facto GM for the Twins, which is a great thing, said, here's what I want to do. 3-year contract, outs after years 1 and 2. You know, odds are he won't stick around. But as I said at the time, and I will continue to say, who cares?
Yeah.
He is a upper echelon player. And I think not just as importantly, but very importantly too, Declan, Carlos Correa is a great, as far as I can tell, clubhouse guy with his teammates. Mm-hmm. So like I hear him and I don't know if it's all genuine or not. And you know what? Who cares really? But I think unlike, let's say, I'm just going to pull a name out of thin air of a guy that didn't work, Josh Donaldson. I think that the clubhouse chemistry with the Twins appears to be genuine again, which was a very important thing along with the Bomba Squad in 2019 when Nelson Cruz was that guy. So one, Carlos Correa, huge positive. No downside there.
Absolutely, yeah. I mean, to the Donaldson effect, you know, we all honestly praised the Donaldson sign at the time. Like, oh my God, you guys just signed one of the best players in baseball, comeback player of the year, former MVP, great. But it was clear that Donaldson's personality, and we did know this too, even though we praise it, can rub people the wrong way, and it clearly did. Clearly rubbed people the wrong way. And Correa, look, I think it also helps. Correa's younger, so it's easier to gravitate towards a guy who's 27 and not 34. And Correa is just an outspoken person, but outspoken with, I think, planned initiatives of what he wants to say and stuff. So I don't look at Carlos Correa as a negative player. And I know he got off to that slow start, and he went on the IL after May 5th, but in his last 17 games, I mean, the guy is back to who he is. He's hitting .324. He's hitting extra base hits. He's playing Gold Glove caliber defense. He was the best shortstop in baseball last year. So, yes, I think Carlos Correa, that entire signing, great sign.
So, that's one.
That's one.
Positive right there. And he asked for 5. He asked for 5. Where else will I go? Oh, my God, I can't
Give me
think
4
of
more.
Oh, yeah. No, I can. Number 2, Joe Ryan. Nelson Cruz was popular. Had a very good stint here. Deserves full credit, full points. Had a, for the most part, I think, hugely positive impact on a bunch of guys. But to leverage what Tampa Bay got, which was approximately 2 months or so, 2 months of Nelson Cruz for a young pitcher who I think has a good makeup. He definitely has good stuff. He definitely looks to me like a guy who doesn't get rattled. Like, he can have bad games, but it doesn't ruin him. Joe Ryan, this could be a great trade. This could be a fantastic trade. And I'm going to tell you right now, there's a little bit more pep in the Judd step when Jay Ryan is scheduled to start at Target Field.
Mm-hmm.
So Joe Ryan, huge positive to me.
Yeah, he works quickly. I don't know if he's necessarily a true number one staff ace, but I mean, for God's sakes, the guy doesn't allow a lot of hits. He works quick, gets strikeouts when he can, has that deceiving fastball, right? The one that it might not look scary to you, but it's deceptive, and he's a good pitcher. And yeah, they got that from the Tampa Bay Rays, who are known for just pushing out a ton of good pitching prospects and usually bailing on them earlier than they should. And Joe Ryan, I mean, front of the line guy. And right now, if you can even pair another legitimate ace with him, another legitimate top line pitcher, I should say, well, you got a formidable 1-2 if you were to go into the postseason, which the Twins are because they're in first place in the AL Central.
And the thing that I like about Joe is that he, at his age, is a pitcher.
Yep.
Like, he's not gassing guys. Like, he's not like, oh my God, that's great stuff. But Joe Ryan is a pitcher. The makeup mentally and physically, I think, is right. So that's 2. Boy.
Got 3? Got 3 more?
Got a few more? Can I get to 3? Number 3.
Number 3.
Royce Lewis's debut. There was a lot of question about him. There was, he hadn't played for essentially 2 years, which is incredible. I mean, for him to play the way he played after not playing for 2 years, 2020, I think he was in the extended camp in St. Paul, but they didn't really play true games because there wasn't a minor league season last year, torn ACL, I believe. For him to then come back here, Dex, and this quickly, and then step in here and play like he did, it's why I was disappointed they sent him down. In my opinion, he was an important person in the clubhouse. There is no question he was helping them at the plate and helping them to win games. Royce Lewis, like, you found out, you got a glimpse of a kid. And much like with Ryan, here's the thing about him. Personally, I think the makeup is great.
Yep.
Like, I watch him and I don't see a flash in the pan. And look, you know what? Sano came up in 15 and fooled me too. So I'm assuring nothing here. But when I watched him play and the poise and how he carried himself and how he approached people, that didn't look to me like a guy who was hot but might cool off and, oh my God, it's going to go sideways. Royce Lewis's debut screams to me that the Twins made the right pick in picking him. Hunter Green can throw hard and could be a very good pitcher. But if you have found your shortstop for the next 8 to 10 years, that's fantastic. Royce Lewis, number 3.
Yeah, he's been phenomenal. He was damn near perfect too, by the way, in his debut back in St. Paul with the St. Paul Saints after he was optioned down. So still looking good in St. Paul. And for the fact that guy did not play baseball for the last few years. And yeah, I mean, everyone was kind of worried. I remember going into that draft. I actually covered that draft. Is it going to be Hunter Green, who was called the LeBron James of baseball coming out of high school? Was this going to be this flame-throwing prospect? And look, now he's up with the Reds, and God bless him. I mean, you're going to need way more than help for Hunter Green to last in Cincinnati for how bad since the Reds are going to be looking for the next few years. But at the same time, if Royce Lewis is Carlos Correa, that's a win, right? If he's even a half step down from Carlos Correa, that's a win. So
yes.
And finding these shortstop prospects, I mean, it's hard. So many guys are drafted as shortstops. They get moved. Miguel Sano being an example, right? Michael Dyer was drafted as a shortstop. Trevor Plouffe was drafted as a shortstop. It's hard to be projected as a shortstop and stick there as a stud. And I think he has the makeup to be a very good shortstop for years to come.
So that's 3 right there.
That's 3. Give me 2. 2 more.
I don't know if I have. Oh, yeah, I do. Number 4.
Okay.
Number 4. There's no question here when Byron Buxton plays. When Byron Buxton plays, Byron Buxton has the ability to change games. It used to be his speed and defense. And look, his play in the outfield remains elite. But Byron Buxton, and this is why I want him to pinch hit a week ago Saturday, Byron Buxton can change a game with one swing of the bat now. Byron Buxton has power. Byron Buxton has confidence. Byron Buxton's approach is great. When Byron Buxton plays, he is one of the best players, in my opinion, in the big leagues. In the big leagues. And so that's 4. Byron Buxton is if we had to run through a list of guys that you would pay to go see on the Twins, Byron Buxton, assuming he's playing, is probably 1 and 2, right?
Yeah, I mean, as a season ticket holder of the Minnesota Twins, Correa's signing is what pushed me over the top to go do it. Just because he's one of the best shortstops in baseball, and I thought, all right, after being very soured on the team in 2021, rightfully so, I thought this could be an exciting time. And Byron Buxton, when he's in the field, I've seen him for the last 5 years. I've watched him in person now for a good amount of time. When he's been able to be on the field, you put those 2 together, and I thought that'd be worth the price of admission. And yes, when he is healthy and when he is playing baseball, he is a top 5 impact player. Mm-hmm. Maybe Shohei Ohtani, Mike Trout. There aren't many other guys in baseball that can do what he does when he is fully healthy. He's
a treat to watch. Absolutely. Mm-hmm. And number 5, I believe I'm pronouncing his name right now, Juan Duran.
Yes.
The reliever. Mm-hmm. When you can throw 103 miles an hour and the team name on the front of your jersey is Twins, that's pretty damn impressive because we have not seen a power arm like that forever.
They haven't had one.
Watching him literally blow away opposing hitters is great fun. His stuff is great fun. And he is 1,000%, in my opinion. If he's not there yet, he is very, very close to being the guy who you can bring in when you need an out. When you got to get and I don't know, that could be a save situation in the 9th. It could be in the 7th inning. But when you need to get an out, and previously you'd say, okay, what do we got out there? We got Duffy out there, and we got Stashek out there, and oh man, who else do we have out there? Who else can get an out? Who else is a crafty pitcher? You know what? I love Joe Ryan because he's a pitcher, but there are times out of the bullpen when you want a guy who just comes in and overpowers hitters. Duran does that. So anyway, those are my 5 things. I think people confuse negativity with holding this team to a standard. I think they've got potential. I just want them to maximize that potential for 22. I don't like this whole baseball thing. Like if you don't care about this year, just sort of tell me. Like just say, you know what? We really don't think it's in the cards. So we really don't care. So we got Chris Paddock. We did it for 23 and 24. We don't really care about this year. But last Sunday, Byron Buxton was still talking about the goal, a World Series, okay? So if the goal is a World Series, you need to be held to a standard of achieving that. It's very clear that this franchise in baseball ops has people that don't know how to get there yet. That doesn't mean they can't be successful. So they've done a lot of good things, but they are being held accountable on things that are going to end a playoff losing streak. That's 18 games, the longest in major sports the major sports for what? Hockey, basketball, football, and baseball. Men's. that we follow in North America. So don't confuse holding the team to a standard with like, I hate the team. I don't hate the team. I want the team to win. You've got a 20-game ticket package. So 5 things, not hard to find at all for me.
I'll give you a bonus one. How about this? I'll give you one extra one on top of yours. The Twins' new battery mates of Gary Sanchez, and I know Ryan Jeffers has been here, but the new battery tandem that they have right now has been great. Gary Sanchez is on an absolute heater the last week. I mean, he's destroying baseballs, and this was a guy who was an MVP candidate with the New York Yankees not too long ago. Yep. And I know his defensive warts have somewhat been an issue. You know, he's led the league in pass balls a couple times from behind the dish, but so far he's been, I think, all right defensively too. But he has some pop. And to be honest, all I care about with my catching tandems, because honestly, catchers just don't really play. They really honestly split it about 55-45 these days. It's 60-40 split because just no one really can catch over 120, 130 games today in baseball anymore. Sure. But if you can give me catchers with good pop and a catcher that can get on base and call a good game, if I can get those out of both my catchers, and the Twins are getting that out of both Gary Sanchez and Ryan Jeffers, I like that a lot. So also, I'll give you one more positive there. And Ryan Jeffers and Gary Sanchez have been very good behind the dish for the Twins, at the plate and behind the plate.
So it strikes me now in watching Sanchez play a lot that he is an incredibly streaky player, but when he gets hot, he's really, really hot. Mm-hmm. The other thing that I think is important, and this is where I think the Twins made a good decision in taking him and keeping him, I think he got overwhelmed the second that he didn't have success in New York, which once you don't have success, they are down on you and it's hard to get out. Yep. I think he took it personally and the tabloids all came after him, right? So I think getting him out of pinstripes in here, it was absolutely huge. Now, I don't know if that contributed to his catching problems. I did see, I think it was the last homestand, he had a terrible pass ball. But that being said, I think he's going to be a different player here because when he does go through a cold stretch, no one's going to say, oh my God, you're terrible, you suck. But yeah, he is a player who, as far as when he gets hot, can certainly play a role, is probably the fairest way to put this, in carrying you. Because, I mean, right. He was great in this. Now, in fairness, the A's do stink, but he was great in the 3 games there, so no question.
I believe he's slugging somewhere like near 800 in the last week. He's just been on fire.
Love it.
More Twins feedback here. David on the YouTube comment section says, Declan, at this point, your hatred towards Gio Urshella's walk-up song has made you think he's a bad player. He's a plus defender at third, and while he was a low batting average guy right now, he has a plus bat as well. I would be totally fine with playing Royce at third over him, and I definitely hate sending him down, but saying he's, quote, a third baseman that can't play third is way overboard. Maybe a little bit of an overreaction by me. He's a solid third baseman, and look, I made that prediction on Gio Urshella on Write That Down a few weeks ago, just because I think at the end of the day, I want to see Royce Lewis more than I want to see Gio. And by the way, Urshella is a nice veteran player that can, play third base, play shortstop, play second base. He's a solid utility player, and teams can always use that come playoff time. But push comes to shove, I want Royce Lewis in the lineup more than I want to see Gio Urshella when we get more towards the meat of this schedule, into the dog days of summer. If Royce Lewis is who he is, I want to see him in the lineup more than I want to see Gio Urshella.
David's right, though. You do hate your hatred for a guy who has a Christian walk-up song is unbelievable. Now, you did say on yesterday's show, I think, you did say something about his third base play that was disparaging, and that's been good. But as far as at the plate, he's inconsistent for sure. And I'm with you. Royce Lewis belongs here until he proves he doesn't. And if the decision to me were Urshella or Royce, who by the way, athletically, I think would be fine at third. Like, I don't think he'd get there and be like, I can't feel the ground ball here. I can't. So I agree with your assessment there, but Urshella at third makes some really nice plays too. So he does deserve credit for that. And yeah, lay off on his walk-up song, man.
No.
I mean, come on. To each his own.
No.
To each his own.
No. I will not lay off that walk-up song. I can't.
I know you won't. I know it's incredible.
A couple comments here from Royce Lewis. Let's start with this one from Mark. Mark says, Royce Lewis shouldn't have been the player to be sent down. Derek Falvey and Rocco need to place their highest value on their best hitters. Scoring runs should be the highest priority. Royce Lewis can play positions other than shortstop with the Twins. He doesn't need to be sent down to learn other positions or to improve his play at shortstop. Well, I will say even for me who wanted him to stay here, I mean, he does still have to play shortstop every day. And I like him at short a lot. So get him some time at short if that's what you're going to do at St. Paul. But to his point, if he's going to be up here, he can play third base. When Manny Machado was coming up through the Orioles system, he was coming up as a stud shortstop, right? But guess what? They had J.J. Hardy, a very good defensive shortstop, a Gold Glove winning shortstop the Twins gave away for a bag of chips. That's a story for another day.
Yep. But
they put Machado at third base because they had a great shortstop in J.J. Hardy. I think you can do a similar situation with Royce Lewis that, yes, you should be putting your value towards your best hitters. And that's where, again, to my point, where I'd rather see Royce Lewis every day than Gio Urshella, even if Urshella is a plus third baseman right now over Royce Lewis.
So I've been giving this a ton of thought because I'm old and boring. And so, I've been sitting on my couch thinking about this a ton, okay? So I guess here's my question. And the Twins aren't going to tell us, but here's my question. Because, this has gone from a hot take to a philosophical Judd thought process. So I'm going to ask you a question, and I'm curious what the response is from you and, of course, the smart people out there. The Twins eventually, not right now, are going to play good teams again. Because let's be honest, Oakland sucks.
Yep.
Kansas City sucks.
Mm-hmm.
You lost to Baltimore, but they also suck. But eventually you're going to play some good teams again. And in my opinion, you have to give yourself the best chance possible to win games against good teams. It matters. So are they, if Royce Lewis can help you, and by the way, we'd have to find out, but if Royce Lewis can help you, and they start to play good teams at some point again, and they were, keep in mind, swept by the Astros here a couple weeks ago or last week, are they going to recall him then and put him at third base? Because, let's just say they think, maybe correctly so, that Royce Lewis has a better chance of succeeding against a good pitcher, good pitching, than Gio does. And if that's the case, how much more shortstop time are you going to get him in St. Paul? Are you committed? I feel like this. I feel like if you are serious about, okay, he has to go play shortstop. He has to be ready for... Correa is going to be gone, Declan. And in 2023, Royce Lewis is going to play shortstop for us. And he has to be prepared to play there and be as elite as possible. Then you got to leave him down for a long time. But if you're going to yank him back up here, the second that you, again, play good teams and are okay, at least he might give us a chance, then what's the point? He got 20 more games at shortstop in St. Paul. So I would challenge the Twins, and this is where it's not negative, it's questioning. I would challenge the Twins' thought process at times on what they're accomplishing versus what they think they're accomplishing. Now, because if you tell me Royce Lewis is not coming back, he's going to play shortstop, we're going to work with him, we saw things in the footwork that you did not see, they're bad. He is an everyday shortstop for the St. Paul Saints for the remainder of 22. Ergo, the reality is we don't care about 22 as much as you think, which I would like to know. You're a 20-game ticket package guy. You would like to know that. That's where I need some more forthcoming answers. But if you say we're just going to yank him back up here the second things go wrong because he might be really damn good, then my question is, then what are you doing?
The next 14 games for the Twins are against the Tigers and Royals.
Right.
Again, the Tigers and Royals over their next 14 games. Yeah, you got to win 9, if not 10 of those games at least, because it's baseball, it's random. You're going to lose some of those games. But after that, starting June 3rd, 3 in Toronto, which the Twins never play well in Toronto.
It's weird.
Home for 3 against the New York Yankees, and nothing needs to be said any more than that. And then they're also home for 3 against Tampa Bay. So Toronto, New York, Tampa. You're going to go through 3 teams in the AL East that are certainly more competitive. And the Yankees, who are the best team in baseball right now and are a very good team. So if you don't make hay against these bad teams, then you're going to see, and we're in general just going to see the true test of this team once they get the Blue Jays and the Yankees and Tampa Bay. They got interleague against Arizona after that. So in June, it's going to things are going to heat up, and we'll probably know who the real Minnesota Twins are when they play those good teams.
That's
which
probably
I think
true.
is important.
But what do you think the sweet spot is? Because, I mean, if you're going to start to scuffle against those teams and say, Royce was playing really well, he potentially can hit. And look, he did take advantage himself of some bad teams. But if you're going to yank him back up here in June, then I say it's a waste of time to have him go play shortstop for 2 weeks in St. Paul. Now, if you say, no, he's gone, he ain't coming back. He ain't coming back. I don't agree with that, but at least it's a stance of what you're doing.
Right. Yeah, I wouldn't mind him playing down against those, playing in AAA against it when the Twins are playing Detroit and Kansas City. I would like his bat in the lineup, though, when they're playing Toronto and New York and Tampa Bay. That's when I would like him up here.
But then I just don't think it's a good use of his time to be down there. I would rather work with him in pregame at shortstop up here. Because if he's going to play shortstop, we're talking about months of playing shortstop, not weeks. Like an extra 2 weeks, Dex, is not going to be like Royce Lewis turned into a platinum gold glove shortstop during those extra 2 weeks he got in St. Paul. Again, what the Twins do in theory, I think for them sometimes runs contradictory to what the common sense best thing to do is.
A couple more Twins feedback questions here. Jane wants to know, Sano needs to go. Don't miss him at all over the underperformers or out of his overpaid underperformance, and I don't miss his strikeouts. What do you do with Miguel Sano when he comes back, Jed? I mean, I know he's on the 60-day IL. He's not coming back for, at the very least, multiple weeks. What does this team do with Miguel Sano going forward?
Well, 60 days.
I don't know.
60 days on the IL, as lengthy of rehab assignment as the CBA allows, and then I don't know. At this point in time, if things are going really well, I don't think that you can trade him. I might DFA him. Here's the thing that we have found, and this is going to be the problem. The home runs are fun. And look, if he comes back, he'll hit a few home runs. But do you know what he does, Declan? In fact, I got a term that I don't think is used commonly in baseball. He is a lineup stopper. He halts the lineup. Because what does a guy like Arise, who's currently playing first base, do right now, Dex? He keeps it going, right? He keeps it going. Often gets hits, often gets on base. But the key is he keeps it going. I feel like Sano has become... he's basically become the thing that plugs up a drain, right? So the water's
drain clogger.
Yeah, he's a drain clogger because the water's going down. I mean, there's nothing more frustrating, right, than when the shower gets clogged because you'll love to see the water going down, right? And then you got to fish it out and you got to start again. You got to start again. Miguel Sano is a far too often drain clogger, and I think this team as a whole is far better off when it's moving.
I like that.
I'm done with him. Like it's not worth the majestic home runs that you occasionally get to see. It's not just the strikeouts. It's what the strikeouts do. The strikeouts do nothing. They don't move things. I want these guys to be moving.
Last one here before we transition. Michael says, this is definitely a fair discussion on whether it's the right move to send him down, talking about Royce Lewis.
Sure.
But you're also being a bit too critical of this front office overall. Had they made mistakes? Yes. Have they won a lot of games? Signed the number one free agent? Locked up a homegrown star? Also, yes. Do they get a chance to learn from their mistakes? Judd, how would you frame that up? And what would Falvey and Levine have to do to learn from their mistakes? Because also, let's be honest, that Chris Paddock trade stinks. And if I see one more person spin it to me in a positive light, seriously, go kick rocks. I don't know what the hell you're talking about. I really don't know what you're talking about to defend that trade. They traded away Lamont Wade Jr., late night Lamont, our guy, Jake Depew's guy, okay? They've made some boneheaded decisions. They were too afraid to trade for a pitcher. But to his point, yes, they've signed Carlos Correa. They locked up Byron Buxton.
Well,
for the most part, they've played above 500 baseball during their tenure here. But what do they have to do to learn from those other mistakes that I led with? What do they got to do?
First of all, they have to become more flexible in their beliefs. The advanced metrics can drive things, but they can't dictate things all the time. And look, their handling of starting pitching in playoff games is awful. It's a complete disaster. It's as bad as some of the worst managers have been, old school guys who also stunk at that. Just it's different, but it's the same because it results in missteps. Let's be careful on Correa. Scott Boras signed him. Scott Boras called them up and said, "Here's what we're going to do," and the Twins said, "Okay, sounds good." The Donaldson one, yeah, you know what? On board, didn't work. Worth a shot. But until they start to show that they have the flexibility to adjust, which they have not done at times yet, the Lewis thing sends a terrible message. And it's not the optics of that is sent to the fan base. That's bad too. But the message is to the clubhouse. You basically just told your players, we are going to demote one of the hottest players on this team because of the future. How do you feel? I mean, Dex, you've been around practices, locker rooms, in all sports, enough to know that if you are covering a player, that guy gives zero damns about the next year. Now, Tankum Judd does. Tankum Judd loves that. But, when you're covering players, Byron Buxton is talking about a World Series. And he might be totally crazy, but in his mind, he believes it. And when Royce Lewis gets sent down, that says the front office does not believe in you. Carlos Correa, as The Athletic reported, went and talked to Rocco to, I think, get answers for the rest of the team to try and say, here's what's going on, because it makes no sense. So, as you said a couple of days ago, and I believe this to be true, Falvey and Levine are very smart, but there is a certain amount of people skills badly lacking. And people skills, ultimately, when you are trying to get players on the same page, become very important.
Yeah.
So that needs to develop. That needs to change. But they also, when they get to the playoffs, they seriously need to change their thinking. Mm-hmm. When Barrios is through 5 and his lights out, you cannot go to him and say, dude, this is how we've done it all year. I mean, what drives smart people crazy? This is how we always do it. Yeah. Smart people are always like, what the bleep are you talking about? So the front office has done good things, but that does not mean that they are always right. And I think it's very easy to articulate and to cite examples of things that this front office struggles with.
The best thing you can do with analytics is blend it with the eye test. So when Jose Barrios is shoving in that playoff game, and he still has a lower pitch count too, by the way, and the analytics say, well, a third time through the order, he's worse. Okay, yes, that's a fact. Everyone knows that. That's always been a thing. It's just we didn't really have the information to really prove it, and we weren't ever really looking there. But when you're watching guys shove like that, and he comes off the mound looking at his dugout like, you love this? You like basically pulling his Kirk Cousins moment? You like that? And then for Rocco to literally sit him down, say we're going with Cody Stashak because it's the third time through the order, and this Astros lineup's going to hit you, and then Cody Stashak bleeps down his leg. Dude, your analytics then bit you in the ass in that decision. That's where you have to marry both. You have to marry that human element with those analytics, and you're going to get the best result possible.
But here's what I don't get about that move, okay? So if you had, at that time, if Duran could have come in, okay? I don't like the Barrios move then, and I still think it's a mistake, but you got a guy coming in who can shove, all right?
Sure. Yeah.
Then I'm a little bit more because then at least I'm a little bit more oh, okay, I don't like it, but okay, you just said it. You just put Cody Stashak in. Yeah. What sane-minded person says this should work?
Mm-hmm.
That's what I don't understand. But so my question is this: where's the common sense there? Where's where's the valve in your brain that says, okay, the advanced metrics say that this makes sense, but I'm looking at Cody Stashak or Randy Dobnak starting in Yankee Stadium. What sane individual says this is going to work? This is what I don't get. This is what I don't understand. And in the playoffs, one little screw up can cost you a game in a series. That was a best 2 or 3. So this is where I believe that you can say beyond a shadow of a doubt, and yes, this is right, I'm going to question authority. I know that 2022 doesn't like to do that. Don't question people. Don't question the adults. But what sane person says this is going to work?
Right. All right. Feedback Friday. Keep it moving here.